You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
What's up, creeps? Welcome to another brand new Brain Stew Fresh Fright review. I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy. Hello. Hello.
B-Ratty.
Hello. Hello.
B-Ratty.
Hello.
B-Ratty.
B-Ratty.
B-Ratty-tat. And ladies and gentlemen, this week on the show, we're going to be talking about a new movie, as always, on the Fresh Frights that just landed in theaters last week. Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool.
And what they don't realize is that we have a surprise guest for you. Mia Goth.
Hello. I'm so overjoyed to be on your podcast. Hello.
Mia, what's it feel like to be one of the biggest stars in horror right now and that you weren't nominated for an Academy Award?
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh.
Shia LaBeouf.
Chia.
Is it Shia or Shia?
It's Shia, right?
I like to call him Shia LaBeouf.
He's a kombucha. I thought you were going to be like, we have a special guest today. It's Mia Goth's eyebrows.
They showed
What
up.
eyebrows? What
They showed
eyebrows?
God, I don't know how she gets away with being so damn hot without any eyebrows.
Like, does she have eyebrows, but they're just so, like, faint blonde that you can't see them?
We literally confirmed this like 3 episodes ago.
I need to hear it again, though, because I'm still confused.
I told my wife to look, like, I asked her, and she just said that they're very light, and some people don't have eyebrows that grow in thick and dark like that. So it's just a natural
She
thing.
should get those, like, Spanish chick, like, just drawn on eyebrows.
No way.
But they should draw them on, like, thick as fuck, like that one chick, what was, Carla Delevingne? What the fuck's her name?
Eileen the Dolphin.
Dolphin Discovery. I know what you're talking about. No, dude, I mean, to me, like, that's really who she is. I mean, that's part of...
Let's get some Jennifer Connelly fucking caterpillar fucking big-ass, thick-ass eyebrows going on.
Do you guys think I have weird eyebrows? I had someone tell me that my eyebrows were very far apart, and I haven't been able to...
Brady, I can't
myself
fucking
to
see
say
your
it.
eyebrows while we're recording the
Also, Mia
podcast.
Goth.
So I can't tell you. Actually, they do look kind of far apart.
Okay, that's not good. Well, they're like brown over here, but as you get closer, they're blonde. So, like, I mean...
Fucking dye them then, dude.
It's because you're a bitch-made boy.
You bitch-made boy. That video is so good.
It is so good.
You gonna shut your mouth when I'm talking to you, boy. You bitch-made
Bitch-made
boy.
boy.
I'm over here having no idea at all what you're talking about.
Dude, you gotta send
It's
that
just
to them.
this. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's this
And when
stupid
you
internet
do,
video.
can you send it to me again? Because I'm
Yeah.
gonna see it again.
Oh God. Anyways,
Yes, anyway, so this movie,
Which one?
what about it?
the one that we're reviewing on the show this week.
The mean one.
No.
I'm still looking at my eyebrows.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'd rather not ever think about that one again.
Okay, fair enough.
But Brady,
Halloween ends. No,
One
not
of my-
Halloween.
actually, one of my friends is watching Halloween Ends tonight for the first time, and he was like, "Is this even a Halloween movie?" He said, "I'm 40 minutes in, and Michael hasn't shown up." And I was like, "Just
Dude.
you wait."
Dude, not only that, funny enough, your friend's watching Halloween Ends today. My buddy Ron just read the fucking novelization of Halloween Ends, and there's so much, like, they obviously, like, when they were writing the novel, must have gone off, like, a different draft of the script that, like, is wildly different than what we ended up getting. And, dude, he was telling me a bunch of the stuff in it. It had a lot more Michael stuff. And at the end, like, Hawkins shows up at Laurie's house because, you know, she kept Michael's mask, and, like, when he showed up, there was just something off about her, and, like, as he was, like, walking away, he was like, that wasn't Laurie. Like, there's something felt off about her. That wasn't Laurie. And like the movie was supposed to end with like Laurie looking out the window with Michael breathing, and that's how it was initially supposed to end. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I really like the novel." And I was like, "Dude, everything you told me makes me hate it even more. Like, I never want to fucking think about that movie
Well,
ever
thank
again in my
God
life."
David Gordon Green is never coming back to horror ever again.
Oh, here's a fun little tidbit for you. I have a friend, and I'll just leave it at that ran into somebody that's working on the David Gordon Green Exorcist film. I'm gonna say film, and my buddy was like, "Oh man, that must be cool." And this person said, "Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool working on the movie and stuff, but the script is really not very good." So, you know, there's just more to look forward to from those guys making horror films. Like, you excel in comedy. Do that.
Yeah.
Do that. It's like remember that one time that, like, Michael Jordan, and I can't believe I'm pulling out a sports reference because I know shit.
Wow. I was even
I
thinking
know
One
shit.
time in the 90s.
Remember when he was like, "I'm done playing basketball. Now it's time to go play baseball." It's like,
in
well,
Space Jam.
it's like, yeah, dude. I mean, like, you're okay at baseball for sure, but like, you're you're the greatest ever at basketball. So it's like that's kind of what I feel like with these guys like delving into horror. It's like, dude, Righteous Gemstones is a fucking masterpiece.
I would
say,
say Eastbound and Down before that was even crazier.
dude.
But yeah, I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll get back to the movie. Sorry, Justin.
I mean, don't say sorry.
What movie?
Well, what movie? Well, hold on, Jimmy. Let me ask what movie you saw this weekend.
Yeah, you saw a movie this weekend?
What we're doing.
Didn't you go to the theater?
Yeah.
You saw a movie?
I mean, I rewatched Dawn of the Dead. And I also I rewatched this fucking movie. You guys may have heard of it. It's called The Thing. It's a fucking masterpiece. It starts off with a dog, and then it just fucking gets crazier from there.
Wow,
I don't want to spoil too much about it though.
Does the dog talk or anything? Or
No, well, no, I guess not.
Does it say woof woof? No. Okay. Anyways, this weekend I saw the new movie from Brandon Cronenberg, Infinity Pool. And I really liked it compared to his other film, which you two probably still haven't seen yet, Possessor.
No, I haven't watched it yet,
yeah,
Brady.
that's what I thought.
It's on my list. It literally is. I wanted to watch it.
I told you I would watch it within 2 weeks. I think I said that on the last podcast.
No, you said that. We did that podcast like 4 weeks ago.
All right.
So that makes you a liar.
Liar! Liar! Hands on fire!
But anyways, I'll give my synopsis since I knew that was coming, right, Justin?
You know your job.
Yeah. Wow, I know my job for once. All right, so Infinity Pool. While vacationing in the exotic but crime-riddled country of Latolka, struggling writer James, played by Alexander Skarsgård, and his wife Em, played by Cleopatra Coleman, end up meeting the seductive yet mysterious Gabby, played by the pod favorite, eyebrowless Mia Goth. and after being led outside of the resort grounds by Gabby and her husband, they become entangled in a culture of violence, unchecked hedonism, and horrors of which the eye has never seen. A tragic accident lands them in the mercy of the police, whose policy for crime is blunt: face execution or hope you're rich enough to watch yourself die. Infinity Pool.
Infinity Pool.
Which I did actually not know was a real pool. But an infinity
it's a certain
pool is
kind of
a real
pool.
thing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty.
I don't
cool.
think I've ever been in one. I mean, unless you're rich, right? You'd have to be rich to be in an infinity pool, or go to a really nice place.
Yeah, or pretend to be rich. Yeah. Which is probably the only way that I'd be.
Or
able
hop
to
a
get.
fence. You know.
Yeah. Right. To an
Yeah,
infinity
get
pool.
a felony. Trespassing.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess I can just go right off the bat. I really didn't know what to expect with this one. Like, I don't know. I'm sure we'll get into it, but the trailer, I felt like it did a pretty good job of giving away maybe the first act, like the initial 20 minutes or so. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, they're on vacation, they hit someone, and you kind of know from the trailer that there's going to be this process of doubling, right? Where they make your body double to execute that instead of execute you if you're rich enough. But what I really find interesting about Brandon Cronenberg is that he seems to have this really good grasp on creating films about the disgusting ways that like a person can lose their soul right? And how that can get destroyed, but it's in the same vein of like how his dad did all of his body horror. Like, it's just as disgusting. I think Brandon's is a little more muted. Like, he doesn't really have the same, maybe over the top eye for body horror as his dad does, or he just holds back on purpose. But I think that he does a really good job of giving you the story of people getting destroyed by whatever's inside of them while still making it kind of gross. I think this movie really showed some good themes that were very direct of like his view of a globalized world and elites who run it. I think that a lot of movies get into that theme of these rich and powerful people, and it gets a little more satirical, but I think this one was just like gross and gritty and disgusting, and like I didn't care about any of the characters for most of the movie until the end, when you're like, oh, like that's kind of sad, but sad in a way that was more like, I don't know what you guys would say, but maybe just kind of like empty sad. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't really care what happened to the characters at the end, but it just made me feel like this feeling of emptiness. Like, wow, like that's just, they're all empty.
Well, it's such an extreme experience that you go through when you watch this movie. I think you'd have to be like inhuman to not feel something from it. You know, it's such an experience where I kind of felt like I was numb walking out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think I just really think that overall it's a commentary on how the rich or the elites or the 1%ers, whatever you want to call them, how you can do anything as long as the money flows, right? But what's the ultimate price, right? Like, there's got to be some price that you pay. So is it your bank account? Is it your soul? Like, what is it? Like, do you lose a part of you? And then they also had the theme of, you know, like, is it really you or the double that's getting killed? Like, I thought that was pretty interesting. I wish that they had
that's the
gone
part
into that a little more.
That's the part that I think fucked with me the most, is just like when our lead character is, you know, introduced to all the other rich couples, and one of the characters says, "Do you ever wonder if you're really you or if you're the double?"
Mm-hmm.
And that was a terrifying thought for me. In fact, like, that would be the scariest thing for me. Like, what if I watched the real me get executed and I'm the copy? You know, like, why? Like, what does, you know, the Latolka people, what do they care which version it is? You know, would they find it funny for me to continue on with the rest of my life thinking that I was the real me, but I'm just a clone copy? I also, like, since we're talking about that, I like that they didn't overly explain it. None of it. They didn't overly explain the technology, how it works, nothing. Just, you get in this red goo shit, and all of a sudden you see all types of crazy lights and different things, and then you wake up and they somehow made a perfect replica of you that retained all of your memories and everything. I like that it was just like, okay, this is what it is, and this is what happens. And it's like, you know, you go along for the ride with the movie, and you don't need it overly explained. I feel like Hollywood, a lot of times, they feel the need to overly explain the process, right? Another filmmaker may have done, like, a whole, like, well, this is how it works. And I like that Brandon Cronenberg was just like, no, this just, they put you in this red shit. When you wake up, there's another one of you. I love that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, there's that initial shock that we see with our main two characters after they go through this experience for the first time. And I think that's, you know, they're an audience surrogate in a way where you're like, you're experiencing that through them, where you're like, okay, so this is what the technology is. This is what they can do. If it was overly explained and spoon-fed, it would have lost all impact entirely.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I got hung up on for a second was, you know, how does this, I mean, I don't know if you'd call it a third world country, but it's, you know, they're basically, you're given this perception of this country, like it's full of crime, full of poverty, like there's not a lot going on outside of these resorts, right? Like, it's not safe to go out there. There's barbed wire on top of the fences for the resort, so like, please don't go out there. They're kidnapping tourists to try to get ransom money. But then how do they have this technology? How are they the only people in the world who have this technology, right? So, but I think that just goes into his shtick in his movies, where it gives you all this information and it's so disorienting and it's throwing you through so many loops. But not so much like Christopher Nolan, where I think sometimes his movies can get caught up in their own loops. Like, I think he just gives you all this information and he's like, yeah, like, you're just going to get fucked up during this.
Yeah, you're going to get
fucked
up.
Happens.
You're going to get fucked up from it. And also, I don't think he's wanting you to feel just one specific thing. Like, he knows that people perceive things differently, and we all experience feelings differently, and how these things he's conveying on screen are going to make a person feel is all dependent on that individual. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't think there is a wide array of emotions and feelings you get while you watch this movie, depending on your perspective as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, the very first shot of this movie where the camera's going upside down.
Oh, man.
Dude, it made me feel so fucking nauseous. Like, I don't know if it did the same to you guys, but, like, when that camera shot hit, I was, like, instantly queasy in my stomach. Like, well, I hope they don't do this shit a bunch.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cinematography in general and a lot of the camera angles, that asymmetrical composition and those unusual angles, I mean, mixed with later on some of the stuff we see with the hallucination scenes, I mean, it's just mind-numbing. I mean, he wants you to feel something totally extreme, and I think in terms of that alone, this is probably the most unnerving movie I've experienced in a long time. You know, I mean, there's a fucking warning that, you know, you could have a seizure while watching this movie, and my wife, who she can't watch any kind of strobing or anything like that, had to close her eyes through each one of those sequences because it was such a immense experience to deal with.
Yeah, I would agree. It's very unnerving, but I also found it refreshing how original it was. Very similar to Pearl, right? Where it was like, sure, you borrowed some themes, but it was like its own fucking movie. Like this one, and that's why I think like Brandon Cronenberg gets a lot of shit for being David Cronenberg's son, right? The Nepo baby, like he's only getting this because of who his dad is.
He should have just gone by the name Joe Hill. We'd really never know. We'd never know who his dad was.
He could have looked just like his dad when his dad was that age. Just you know, but I think he's really like doing great things. Like, I'm not gonna give you guys shit for Possessor, but like, it's a really fucking great movie. And that was the first. I haven't seen his first movie, but that was the movie that I saw, and I was like, holy shit! Like, this is so fucking cool. This is so good. And then to have it followed up by this one, I was like, Jesus Christ, dude! Like, sure, your last name's Cronenberg, but like, you're doing your own fucking thing. Like, and I hope he keeps doing it.
And he's got, you know, two fucking heavy hitters at the forefront here with Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth. I mean, Skarsgård, I mean, in terms of what he's typically known for in his roles, this is like flipping the switch, man. I mean, he was a brutal barbarian in The Northman. Absolutely beautiful performance in that. And now they're switching it right around, and he's stripped of that self-sufficiency, really reduced to like a shell of what a man is considered. I mean, this guy right from the beginning, he's self-conscious. He's constantly doubting himself. He's trying to find inspiration. He's this apparently lackluster writer that has a rich wife. And he's just gone to this, like you said, Brady, third world country resort to try to find inspiration.
Is that a real place? And excuse my ignorance if it is.
No,
okay.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so either, but I wasn't sure. I was like, all right.
But I mean, honestly, you know, some parallels there. It's interesting to think because one of the first places I ever went to like that was Punta Cana in Dominican Republic. And you actually see, like, when you get off the airplane, and you're driving in this small car, like through jungle, and you're seeing shacks and people with goats walking down the street. It literally looked like that, where there's people, you know, poverty stricken. And then you're showing up to this huge fucking steel gate with razor wire around it, and there's dudes standing there with guns. I mean, when I was there, I was absolutely shocked. So there are these places that, yes, not just
I'm good on going
not
there.
Not just wealthy people, but people that can afford, you know, like a couple grand for a weekend. You can go to these places, and there's beautiful resorts. The water's crystal clear. It's an amazing environment to inhabit. But then, you know, right outside the gates, like 10 miles, you know, it's a rough place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good on going to any place like that. If they need to fucking put up like barbed wire fences and shit to keep locals out, yeah, fuck that.
Well, I mean, I remember, Jeremy, actually, if you walk down the beach, they would always tell you, you know, don't go too far outside of the resort bounds because there's no fences on the beach. So if you keep going further down, people are going to try to sell you stuff. You know, stuff can happen. And I remember myself and Danielle walking on the beach, and we're just walking and talking, and we totally forgot how far we'd gone. And I looked over to the right in these trees, and I saw a guy literally hanging like by one arm out of the tree, super dirty, just looking right at us. And I was like, okay, we're turning back. Because clearly this guy's not, and you would hear them talking, and then they'd be trying to sell you like, you know, super cheap jewelry for expensive prices and stuff. And, you know, you never know what could happen. But I mean, it's interesting to you know, acknowledge that huge portion of our society, they go to places like this to vacation.
Yeah. Well, it's also like that's the theme of the movie is like these people have so much money they can do whatever the fuck they want. And that's what you get into as the movie goes on is like you find out that, spoiler alert, the body double, you know, if you're rich enough with the agreement between this country and whatever countries everybody comes from, is as long as you pay for it,
you could do whatever the fuck you want.
They'll keep
man.
doing it. So that's there's no punishment.
What that whole theme makes me think about, and it's weird, but whatever, is how when you get these mega rich celebrities or musicians in general, that they get so much money that they don't fucking know what to do with themselves. Because it's like, well, I have everything I could want monetarily. I could buy whatever I want, and that's no longer appealing to me. That does nothing for me now. So, like, people that get in that mode, they tend to go for drugs because they're like, you know what? My money can buy me this thing that, like, it takes me on all types of crazy.
Yeah, they're looking for a thrill in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the couples in this movie, they have so much fucking money that, you know, drugs are no longer enough for them. Buying things is no longer enough for them. Going on vacations is no longer enough for them. They have to push it even farther, you know, with what their money can buy them for thrills. And you find out exactly what that is in this movie. And it's insane, man. This movie was so strange, which I kind of like. I think I only saw a teaser trailer for this. I didn't watch any extended trailer. So I really didn't know a whole lot about what this movie was going into it. But me and my buddy Chris went, and there was only like fucking 4 people in the theater, which is like, I keep hearing that people aren't showing up for this thing, which sucks a lot because it's a great time, and it's original horror, and it pushes the boundary of, well, what is a horror film? What makes a horror film, right? And I think horror films are something that take you on a horrific, you know, ride, and that's what this movie was. It was one long horrific ride. And when I was driving home, I called my buddy Chris and was like, dude, I need to talk about this movie, even though we just saw it. Like, this movie is like, it's like, you know, when you have a nightmare and everything in your nightmare makes sense to you, or in your dreams makes sense to you in your dream world. Like, you don't question anything that's happening, no matter how fucking nuts your dreams are. You're not in your dream going, well, wait a minute, this can't happen. You just accept it. Like, no, like, this is what's happening right now, and you don't question it. That's kind of what this movie made me feel. It made me feel like how I feel waking up after having a batshit crazy dream or a nightmare, where I go, well, these things can't exist because that's not how things happen in the real world. And that's kind of what this movie was to me. It was one long nightmare that you're on with this lead character, Alexander Skarsgård, James Foster. That's what it made me feel like. And any movie that kind of challenges me like that, or takes me on a ride that I've never been on within the genre, immediately has my attention. And this movie, I was captivated from beginning till end.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, like Justin was saying, is due to Skarsgård in large part, but also, like, come on, Mia Goth. Like, these two were just leading the entire fucking movie. And eyebrows aside, like, she brought that
Stop bringing up the eyebrows, Brady.
I can't. Okay, I can't. And she brought the same craziness that she brought to X and Pearl and brought it here. And she's like the perfect conduit for this kind of movie, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, she can go from that sweet, seductive, temptress woman to this batshit crazy, shrieking, shrill,
Dude,
psychotic person.
I dared anyone to tell me another actress right now working in Hollywood that can go from that unparalleled, unhinged psychopath to sweet that quickly like she does.
Not now, but Gary Busey and Rookie of the Year. Oh my goodness.
Funky butt loving. Dude,
funky butt loving?
What's insane about Mia Goth, and this is something else that I said after watching this movie. I'm coining it right now. I'm saying it right now. She is the female Nicolas Cage, and I love it, and I'm here for it. Her performances are fucking insane. She pushes every boundary. She doesn't question whether she's going too far with it. It is what it is. This is the character that I'm portraying because I'm the person portraying this character. Immediately after watching this, I was like, dude, she is the female Nicolas Cage, and I'm absolutely here for it because her performance is batshit fucking crazy. And like what's insane about it is not only is it batshit crazy, but it's crazy seductive. Like Mia Goth, what she can do with her facial expressions and body mannerisms, it's like, I don't know how, but somehow right now you're the hottest chick on the fucking planet. Mm-hmm. But even though you're not traditionally hot in the normal sense, like it's just the way that she carries herself. And I'm gonna throw this out there right now. And this is a spoiler review, ladies and gentlemen. So
if you didn't already know,
we that's what we do. So,
that's what we do.
Here we are. There is a scene in this movie where Alexander Skarsgård, James Foster, is wine drunk and he's taking a piss, by the beach, and he literally is done pissing and he's about to put his dick away when Mia Goth's character comes up and literally reaches around and grabs his hog, which I assume still had like some pee-pee dribble on it. So she's like, fuck it. I'm here for the pee-pee dribble. And she just starts jerking him off. And it's like 30 seconds of like, you can't see it. Like you can, like you just,
gross.
You just see
put your jaws away.
You just see like her standing behind him and you can see that her shoulder's thrusting and you hear the, and he's like, oh.
Dude,
like,
that was like the performance.
It sounded painful to me. I don't know. It didn't sound enjoyable.
Dude, he was like frothing at the mouth.
Was it just because he was so surprised, or I mean?
And like his wife was like close by too, so I'm sure that was a thrill for that character. But dude, I was not expecting reach around handjob action in this movie, and then the funniest shit is that all of a sudden it literally shows his nut hit the rocks. Like you see the cum hit the rocks, and I was like, well, that's a first for me. I don't know that I've ever seen somebody's jizz hit some rocks in a horror film before, but there that was. Like, holy shit. Well, and dude, nobody else laughed in the theater when all of a sudden she started giving him a reach around hand job. Dude, I was like,
what kind of movie am I watching?
Just because I was not expecting that at all, and it fucking made me laugh. The guy in front of me was the weirdest fucking guy on the planet. I'm pretty sure he was there for it. He was like, all right, I'm about to turn this bitch into a Pee Wee Herman moment.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. We talked about it in the pre-show, but allegedly in the NC-17 cut, they actually show like a penis with the ejaculating. Yeah.
Allegedly. Yep.
Allegedly. But yeah, man, that was... I just can't get over, like, what took me out of that was just, like, his noises. I was like, come on, dude. Like, it's just a hand job. It's not that special. Like, and then at the end, he was, like, shuddering. He was like,
excuse me.
I was like, dude,
Brady,
what are you doing?
You just said not that special. It's Mia Goth giving you a hand job.
He couldn't even see her. She was behind him, just staring at him.
He knew.
He's like, I don't know if this is Gabby or her husband, but I'm going to go with it.
Are you telling me you don't know the difference between a man's hand on your dick versus
He's
a
like,
woman's
don't worry, James Foster. I will take care of you.
You know what, though?
My wife loves your book. Shut up. Take it.
Later in the movie, we know they do like an orgy where everyone's fucking everybody.
Let's talk about this orgy real quick, because it was also psychedelic, but there's one part before you find out it's an orgy. that Gabby is just riding James, and then it pans out, and Albin, Gabby's husband, is just like holding onto James's ankle, jacking
with his
off.
big ass fucking teeth, his big ass fucking gorilla teeth,
I was
dude.
like, what the fuck is he doing down there?
Oh, he was jacking off.
Yeah, he was jacking off. Yeah.
Dude, when he was holding James's ankle, I laughed, and I didn't even realize he was jerking off. I was just like, dude, what's he doing?
Yeah, I was like, what? That's when I did a Jeremy laugh.
I gotta say, those sequences for me were probably the most impressive of the entire movie, in terms of actually
The orgy?
the composition of the shots and how unnerving it was, and like it was just so fucking extreme and in your face. It just like kind of numbed your senses a little bit. The sound and the visual. I mean, I swear to God, I could smell the sweat. It was like.
You're like, I smelled some stinky butthole up in there.
I mean,
Oh, God.
for anyone that's actually ever taken a hallucinogenic drug, you understand what I'm saying by this, but it's a fever dream in that sense. But can you imagine actually being on a hallucinogenic drug and watching those sequences? I think it's going to become a thing. I really do, where people are going to do it, because, I mean, in those sequences, it reminded me of like something that Kubrick would do had he been still alive and making films in modern day. And even to the point where, Mia Goth's character reminded me of a young Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange. A lot of parallels there.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, and I mean, we haven't talked about it much, and I know, Justin, you were going to bring it up, but the score is just incredible for this movie, too. It almost, like, it's that synth-heavy, like, drum-forward, pounding. It's, especially in this orgy scene, like, it works incredibly well. And it's almost like its own, like, execution march song, Like, it's just taking you towards the end of their run. I read a review about it afterwards that said it was, like, the reviewer took away that it was somebody overstaying their welcome. I was like, that's interesting. So like the music really goes into that, like, okay, like you're coming to the end of your time, you're way over the time you should have spent there. Like this is just the music that it's marching you towards the end.
Yeah. And the score was done by Tim Hecker. I'm not familiar. I'd have to look up their body of work, but I mean, what they created with that was like this distortion of the senses, like I said, that really carries you through the movie. And you said it perfectly, Brady, from the beginning until the end. It kind of gains momentum and it builds and it gets more schizophrenic as the movie goes along.
Yeah. Just loved it. Also, real quick before we move on, I just do want to say that this movie, in its opening weekend, did more at the box office than David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future did in its whole theatrical run. So
wow,
yeah, not by much, but still.
I mean, and I hate to say this, that movie didn't work for me. It's another Cronenberg movie with a lot of cool themes, great visuals, but overall just landed with a thud. Not to say that I absolutely loved this movie. I mean, I think the experience of it itself has to be admired and appreciated. But it's kind of, I mean, for me at least, it's kind of hard for me to walk out saying, yeah, I loved it. I think I admired and appreciated it a lot more than I physically loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I don't think we ever, us three, talked about Crimes of the Future on the podcast, but I watched that.
I still haven't seen it.
And I felt the same way. I was like, I felt like there could have been so much more done with it. And some people talk about Cronenberg movies like it's almost like, masturbation. Like it's you're just like sitting there like, and it's him just living in excess of himself. And I felt like that's what that movie was. And I don't feel like that's what Infinity Pool was.
So we still, sorry, go ahead. So we still haven't discussed like what this movie really is. So I'm gonna jump into that. So James Foster, his wife, and Gabby and her husband, they're told that they're not allowed to leave the resort because it's very dangerous. But Gabby Bauer and her husband rent a car and they invite James Foster and his wife to leave the compound to go to this really secluded beach area. And they're like, listen, we go on vacation here every year. It's completely safe. Don't worry. Like, they won't know we're gone. And so they leave and they go. So James is an author that has one book out that got horrible reviews. Nobody cared about it. His wife's father is like a book mogul, like owns his own, literary company that releases books. And so a lot of the reviews for James, for his book, is that, the only reason that his book even got a publishing deal was because of who his wife's dad is. And so James wanted to go, he's the one that recommended going to this resort, trying to find some type of inspiration to write a second book, because he's questioning whether he's even a good author. So when asked what he does for a living, he's like, well, I've written one book. And they're like, well, what do you do for money? And she says who her father is, and that
he married rich.
He married rich. And so Gabby's husband is like, how does that make you feel that, like, she's the one with the money? And he's like, so they kind of make him feel inferior already. And so they go to this private beach, and they're drinking wine, and they're eating food, and then a reach around hand job happens. And when it comes time to finally leave, James is like, I'll drive us home, because everybody else is like even more wasted than he is.
Even more wasted than Justin used to get.
Yes, I don't know about that. We had to scrap a Candyman episode one time because you were drunker than all 4 of those people combined. So,
good old Tito.
Damn old Tito Santana. So, you're so cool. So, as James is driving everyone home, the lights on the car keep going on and off. It's having some type of technical malfunction, and this local farmer guy ends up, for whatever goddamn reason, like, I'm going to walk in the road now. Whoop. Like, there was no other cars out. It's like, come on, bro. Did you not? Like, come on.
Middle of the night. Literally the middle of the night. The middle of the night.
I can hear a fucking car coming. It's like, come on, bro. So anyway, so James hits and kills this farmer guy, and he's like, holy fuck, like, we have to call the police. And Gabby and her husband are like, no. Like, you don't understand. The police here, they will rape your wife all night long, kill her, dump her body where it will never be found, and they're just going to execute you. Like, no, we need to get the fuck back on the resort now. That was, like, panic-inducing. And then they had to, like, go back to the gate of the resort, and, like, the armed guards were, like, unsure of whether they were going to even let them in. Like, dude, that was, like, super panic-inducing for me. So they get in, and they're like, we never talk about this again. Well, then the next morning, the police come and they knock on the door, and they're like, James Foster, come with us. That's like an Arnold
Come with
thing.
us. Do it now.
Come with us if you want to live.
Psych. So they take James and his wife to the police station, and they're like, just very matter of fact, like, any crimes committed here in our country from non-residents is death. And he's like, Alexander Skarsgård's performance is so brilliant. He's like, wait, what?
Exactly. Like, you nailed it. It's exactly what he did, too. Like, what any rich white dude would do in that situation. Like, what do you mean? You're going to do that to me?
To me? And so he was like, yes. Like, so what's going to happen is, in our country, if a non-resident kills, a resident, the person who was killed, their oldest of spawn, whether son or daughter, gets to do the executing. So he's got a 12-year-old son who is going to kill you. And he's just like, and then he goes, oh, what? Unless, we've done research on you and we know your wife has money. If you're willing to pay a substantial amount of money, we can make a clone of you. And it will look identical to you. It even retains all of your memories, so it doesn't even know that it's a clone. It thinks that it's you. And you and your wife, it's mandatory that you watch the execution of yourself, the clone. And it's just like, again, like I said, I like that they didn't try to explain the technology of it. And that's what happens is, of course, they pay because they're rich, and that's what fucking rich people do, man. They pay. So they pay, and they sit there, and they have to watch the execution of James, him watching. And it was heartbreaking. This clone, or was it a clone? Was that the real version of him? We never know. I also love that you never know. He's calling out for his wife. M, please help. Please help. It's like, dude, such a dramatic, sad moment. And he gets executed, and M doesn't watch it.
By the way, in the most brutal way possible. I mean, he's getting stabbed in the abdomen over and over, and they don't
over.
pull any punches with that. That shit is extreme. I mean, I could only imagine what the NC-17 cut has if there's any more of that, but it's a death in the way that when you watch these true crime documentaries and they mention someone being stabbed like 15 times, that's what they did with this. And you rarely ever see a stabbing in such a graphic nature like this in a movie.
It was brutal as shit. So James, he watches the whole time. He's mesmerized by it. He can't take his eyes off of it. And that's when you kind of realize, like, does he hate himself so much over all of his self-confidence issues, over everything that he feels like he's lacking in this life, that he hates himself so much that he got some type of pleasure over watching himself get murdered? Like, there's a lot of weird parallels in there.
I took away from this part, not to interrupt, but like when he has that slight smirk as it fades out and cuts away, like I was like, that's when I was like, okay, I think that's the clone. Like,
but
the
clone wouldn't. Yeah, the clone wouldn't know.
But I still think that's like, it's so ambiguous throughout the whole movie. Everything really is. So I was like, maybe that's his like little wink, or it's just that's him realizing, wow, like I get to just like kind of do like whatever. Like this is a restart. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. But I don't know. That's just what I took in that moment. I was like, okay, this shit's about to get real. Because that's only like, what, 20, 25 minutes into the movie?
Yeah.
Everything happens really fast. The way the movie ramps up.
That happens really fast.
So then once he gets out, like literally, he's like still in shock, kind of. And he's drinking and he's smoking. And Gabby's like, come with me. And then she like introduces him to like these other couples that are also rich and famous. And you find out that all of them, Gabby and her husband, were both executed there, but they paid and had a clone do it. And then these other couples, you find out that they all committed crimes and had to pay for the clone to get executed and not them. And then you find out they have this, like, it's like a cult. It's like this secret society of like the mega rich where they pay money to go to this resort to do whatever the fuck they want to do because they know there's no real world consequence for anything that they do, that they can just use their money as a weapon to get out of everything. And so they are there to do like the most like heinous debauchery things, whatever their heart fucking desires, because they're like, you know what? I've got a superpower. It's called I'm filthy fucking rich. And rules don't apply to me because of that. And I think that there's such a great social commentary on classism, you know, and within our society. And like, dude, I don't want to go too deep on it, but like, you know, there's tons of celebrities in this country that have killed people that their money got them out of, you know, any real consequence. Maybe, you know, they still suffer an emotional consequence of some sort, but like, you know, I won't mention anything, but someone was just announced for an autograph event, and it was interesting because it's somebody that I never thought that we would see because they accidentally killed someone. So,
well, didn't Matthew Broderick go through that too?
Yeah, Vince
like
Neil did.
Were killed him and Jennifer Grey. Yeah.
Yep, and Vince Neil, didn't he fucking accidentally kill somebody?
His buddy. Yeah, when he drunk driving, his buddy in the car died and he lived.
What I took away from it too, it's like, I don't know if you guys ever read a lot of like classic literature, but I was big into like F. Scott Fitzgerald growing up, and this is just like a super
F. Scott, get the fuck out of my face talking about some nerd shit like some goddamn books to me, son.
Go on outside, nerd.
Go on out here, nerd, with your fucking books. Go ahead, read your words, stupid.
There's a couple of his books that take place with like this group of, you know, rich socialites who just kind of do whatever they fucking want through life. And sure, the 1920s and 30s are much different than getting body doubled in whatever era this was. But that's just what kept sticking out to me. It's like, yeah, it's just like, that's transcended through generations. Is like just how people with money can do whatever they want, and especially how they go to other cultures and take advantage of the things that are happening there. Like they're basically just using this place as their playground. And the cops don't care because the cops are getting rich off of it. So they're like, sure, you can do whatever you want, but like, I'm just
murder whoever you want. It's fine.
Yeah. You think I care? Cool. There's justice, quote unquote. Yeah. But yeah. So I thought that was a really good theme that he hammered on. I think that can be I don't know. I feel like some movies nowadays get too wrapped up in this buzzword of elites and throw it into a movie, and it's just not done well. And I thought he did it really well because it was so visceral. It made you feel something like gross.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. I don't know how any film this year is gonna top for me this movie. Like, it's gonna have to be a wild card movie because again, this movie just it took me on this dark journey with this character, and I was, man, edge of my seat, captivated, and like, dude, so many things that are tropes in horror films that would be easy go-tos. Like, I legitimately had no idea what was going to happen next throughout the entirety of this movie, and that was so fucking refreshing. So refreshing. Man, this movie, dude.
Yeah, so we might as well get right to it then, Jeremy, because you just gave kind of your sum up of your final thoughts. Are you going to trash this or treasure it, man?
Oh, dude, I'm way treasuring this. Like, I went to work still talking about this movie today. Like, to one of my employees, I was like, "Have you heard of this movie?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "It's about these rich people that can have clones of themselves made, and it gets them out of being executed." And like, I like explained, or like, I was so excited about it that it just reminds me of why I love the horror genre. It reminds me of being at the school table in elementary school telling other kids about Freddy Krueger. That's like the feeling this movie gave me. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to tell people about it. You know, I want other people to see it so we can talk about it because it's such a mindfuck. I've never seen a Brandon Cronenberg movie. I'm really excited to check out his other two films now because this just fucking sold me. I'm already a fucking fan. Mia Goth, lights out performance. Again, I'm coining this. The female Nicolas Cage. Like, I can't wait to see what she does next. And she's someone that man, is she going to continue doing these art house movies and like these indie darling movies? Because I can't, as it is right now, I can't visualize her being in a mainstream movie. Is she capable of doing that? Absolutely, she's incredible. But man, like, I don't know what that would look like now for her to do that because, you know, think about it, guys. We've seen her on the big screen 3 times in the past 12 months. Like, how fucking nuts is that?
It's nuts, and it's a privilege too.
Yeah, man, she's unbelievable. Alexander Skarsgård was, dude, perfect casting because this is one of those things that could they have cast somebody else in the role? Like, yes, absolutely. But I think he just did a phenomenal job in the role, and I feel like all the emotions that he was conveying at any given moment, like, he was so good and so convincing that I instantly felt exactly what he was feeling the entire movie. And before I pass it off to you guys, I also want to say that on top of a reach around hand job with jizz hitting rocks, there was a scene where
the nipples.
Mia Goth, you knew we had to talk about it.
I was just about to bring it up.
Mia Goth, like after James confronts someone and beats someone to death, and that's what I'll say. His fist is covered in blood, and she's like, "It's okay, James." And she like, "Jamesies," and she literally like takes her hand and smears some of the blood from the dead victim that James just beat to death, and she pops a titty out of nowhere and rubs the blood on her nipple, and then immediately he starts sucking on her tit. And I'm like, this goddamn movie is so fucking strange that I'm absolutely here for it, man. I treasure the fucking shit out of this weird-ass, fantastic movie.
That's also not the only weird thing with nipples that happens in this movie. During the orgy,
dude,
there's a close-up of nipples where, like, sludge is coming out, but, like, solid sludge. It was like one of those like all natural vegan like protein bars you can get where it's like just held by like jelly. Yeah, it was.
That tastes absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. But yeah, cool, man. Great review. I'm glad you liked it. Check out Possessor.
Loved it. I'm going to. I swear
2
for
weeks?
God. I swear for God, I'm gonna check this out.
Brady, we'll move on to you then, buddy.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
So I think it was pretty clear through my review too, but
Was
I'm
it?
definitely.
Was it Brady?
I don't know. You tell me.
Tell me again.
Fucking book nerd. Tell us what you think.
Harry Potter looking motherfucker.
The novelization of this movie.
That's how
No,
you need to
I,
talk. You need to talk in that voice from now on in every review, through the entire review.
I just really thought that it was pretty good. I wish.
Brady, you read books and you wear suits every day for your job. You should sound like that.
Are you trying to profile me?
I'm profiling you. I'm stereotyping you.
All right. I got new glasses, but I didn't wear them tonight because I was like, no, then they're going to be like, oh, we made fun of you last week for being Gary Potter.
I said I like the glasses.
Harry
dude.
Potter.
And shout out to Patrick Sherwood for coming to my defense on Facebook.
We love
Anyways,
you, Patrick.
We love you, Patrick. Treasuring the shit out of this movie. It's hard because, like you said, Justin, like I don't know that I can necessarily say that I love this movie, and I don't think it's one that I can just recommend to any horror fan. You know, like I feel like if I'm telling somebody who's maybe not as invested into horror as we are, or somebody who really doesn't understand like Cronenberg and what they're getting into, like I think that's going to be a hard movie for them to swallow. Like there's a lot in there that could take somebody out.
It's
but
weird.
for me, like I think it's just like a fantastic ride, and it's this abysmal, disorienting, shaky. I mean, even the camera work is designed to make you feel like you don't know what's going on, like you're never on solid footing like the characters. The character work is fantastic. Alexander Skarsgård is showing that he's not just a commercial actor, but he can do roles like this that require him to pull a lot of depth, and I'm glad we saw him in this. And then
Johnny Depp.
The Northman, like I think those two movies have shown that he can really like reach deep and pull it out. Similarly to how Mia Goth pulled his dick into a hand job, I think that she's just
PP hand job.
She can't do any wrong at this point. Essentially, like she's just hit a level where everything she's in is going to make me want to go see it.
Yep, same.
100%.
Yeah, I think the writing is incredible. I was reading too that he actually took inspiration from when he was writing it. He wrote the screenplay based on actual experiences he had.
Yeah,
on bad
I saw
vacations.
that he said something about he had dreams or something about killing clones of himself on vacation.
Yeah, and he started writing a short story about it. Was like, I'm just gonna fucking write a script. So kudos to him, man. Like I cannot wait to see what else he does. Like he's just another exciting director in horror that I really hope goes on to do more great things, because I feel like science fiction is one of those things where it's not as accessible, especially when you blend science fiction and horror, and he's really doing something special.
Well, I mean, he's the son of a man that has really molded the idea perfectly of blending science fiction and horror together. I mean, The Fly is one of the greatest movies of all time, and the apple didn't fall very far from the tree in this case. I mean, he directs movies that feel a lot like his dad's, but they're also fresh and inventive in their own way. He's got his own eye for things, and he makes grotesque things look beautiful. I can't say that his father does that in the same way. A lot of his stuff really is just disgusting, but they're both made to make you feel something. And
That shit was disgusting.
You know what movie, before I move on for you, Justin, when I think about David Cronenberg, it was Dead Ringers. That's what I kept thinking of watching this movie the entire time. Like some of the same cinematography, that same overall aesthetic where it's like you have this rich, posh culture lifestyle with the two brothers who are surgeons in Dead Ringers, and then you also have it like with this. Obviously very different movies, but that's what I kept making comparisons to, and I was like, okay, cool, I can see how you like borrowed something from your dad but then made it your own. So
yeah, for sure. And I saw a lot of parallels to Shivers as well. Early Cronenberg stuff. I mean, there's a lot of sex, you know.
Yeah.
But very much, I got to kind of piggyback off the both of you guys and agree with everything you guys said. The strongest part of Infinity Pool is that Cronenberg is challenging you as a viewer. He's challenging you to go through an experience that may be uncomfortable, but it checks off all the boxes on every sense, except for, I mean, it'd be amazing if they did this in one of those 4DX theaters where you can smell things and literally, you know what I mean? Because the movie literally just puts you through this experience that's this visceral, hallucinogenic fucking nightmare. And it really captivated me in those sequences. I think at times I found myself slightly bored with some of the character stuff, even though it's all brilliantly done. I think the performances are really the showcase here outside of the visuals and the sound. It's hard to not like what you're seeing. I was most definitely impressed by it. And it took me over from beginning to end. And I mean, it's something like Jeremy had said, he's never seen anything else like this. And even though we've both, actually all three of us combined together, have seen so many fucking movies, not just horror movies, but all different kinds of movies. And I myself can admit that I've never seen anything quite like this before. I've seen things similar, but he's just got this knack for like perfecting his vision in a way that I've not seen a lot of other young up and coming horror filmmakers do. And he does it his own way. I mean, he's not trying to do anything to impress the GA. He's just doing his shtick, and he wants to just make it as pure and unbridled hell as possible. And you have to appreciate that. So I'm going to also treasure this. You know, I think it's one of those movies where, you know, I know there's some times where you'll see a movie and you're not as impressed, or you did like it, but you didn't like it that much. But this is one I definitely feel like I want to revisit. You know, I want to pick this one up, revisit this one, and give it another shot. And, you know, it's one, I think that there's a lot more to it on multiple viewings. Like, you're going to find more out of it. You know, there's so much in there. And maybe there's just too much for a single watch. You know, I saw a lot of people, even though, Jeremy, you said, you know, the theater was dead. My theater, I think, had like 15 people. It's made like, I think, let me see, like 2.7 million or something like that. Yeah. So it hasn't made a lot, but I mean, hopefully word of mouth will get out and more people will give it a shot. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review for Infinity Pool. I know a lot of people actually reached out. I did a tweet on our Twitter and asked, should we review this? And everyone said yes. And then I got a bunch of people saying, like, wish I could see it, because, you know, it's not a super wide release. And, you know, it bothers me, you know, working at Alamo Drafthouse and this being a Neon produced movie, Jeremy, you telling me that you wanted to see it at your local Alamo and they didn't have it.
Did not have it, dude. I had to rough it. I had to go to AMC Theaters, which is so dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, I fucking hate it. And of course, like, there's 4 people in the theater, and there's somebody sitting right in front of us, and he was a fucking subhuman fucking idiot. That was
let me guess, phone out and
nightmare. Phone out, loud, like, just fucking text messages going on towards, like, dude, where are you from?
And why are you paying your own money, or why are you wasting someone else's money to come in here and waste other people's time and their enjoyment?
Yeah, I fucking hate AMC. So, yeah, I mean, dude, Alamo has spoiled me. I have one right down the street, and it's very sad in the few times where Alamo is not showing something where I got to go to fucking AMC.
Yeah, man, it's. And, I'll have
get that Nicole Kidman promo the fuck out of my face too.
I actually don't mind that promo.
Talk about Eyes Wide Shut, am I right?
Yeah, but talk about Kubrick, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'll have to look into that and see. Sometimes, you know, unfortunately, like, depending on the demographic of the area and all that stuff, they decide, like, is this going to do well here, or should we just put Avatar on 2 more screens?
Well, I'm excited because they're actually putting an Alamo Drafthouse a 10-minute walk from where I work in Boston, in Seaport. I saw the signs go up and everything, and I was like, oh, yes.
I would love to come up and visit you for the grand opening. That would be amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. But ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen the movie, let us know what you thought of it in the comment section on the post. If you are listening for the first time, come and check us out. We're on every social media platform at Epic Film Guys, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And if you like what you're hearing on the show as well, go ahead and head over to Spotify or iTunes and drop us a review. We greatly appreciate that. And aside from that, we hope to have you tune in next week for whatever the fuck we're going to do, which we don't know yet, but I'm sure we'll announce it sometime soon here. But until that next time, I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm B-Ratty.
And as always, we like to ask you to keep it creepy.
James!